Welcome to Behind the Kingdom with Johnny Gentleman, a podcast about drag kings, things, and everything in between, talking about the struggles of being a drag performer in a drag queen world. Warning, this podcast contains language that results in talking about gender discrimination and many other triggering factors. So if you feel triggered, please stop the podcast. We won't take it personally. Hey everybody, welcome to Behind the Kingdom with Johnny Gentleman. I know it's been a while. It has been actually a really long time since our last episode. Life has been busy, I think for all of us especially, but we're back. And we're back with a really great subject as well. We are going to be talking about the importance of mental health and how we as drag artists have to deal with our mental health on a daily basis, in and out of drag, and how we cope with things and stuff like that. So we wanted to make this a very open, honest, open-hearted episode just because we don't talk about this in the drag world. You just see the kikis, you just see the drinks, you see the good times and the amazingness on the stage, but you don't know what's behind the actual mask or behind the mustache, I guess, in our case.
Yes.
But we have a very special guest, one of my favorite. He's not new as far as drag, but for me, he is such an upcoming star here in LA, revolutionary. Every time I see him perform, it's like it makes my whole entire day. So please give it up for the amazing, comic as fuck, Ramón.
Big reveal.
Big reveal with the rainbow. Happy Pride, very much
Happy
that.
Pride. So I have rainbow in the front. Okay.
Yes.
Disco ball back.
Yes. Oh my God, I love this.
And yesterday I went to Hamburger Mary. My first Pride event, Hamburger Mary, classic.
Yeah.
Never been. I'd never been.
Oh my God. How'd you like it?
So Misty Violet was the host.
I love Misty. She's the best.
She's the best.
Congratulations to Misty also for getting engaged.
Update. This was different a month ago. Okay.
Yeah, so congratulations. I don't know if Misty will ever hear this, but congratulations, Misty, on your engagement. I am loving honestly all these drag or like nightlife performers just getting engaged. It just makes me so happy.
Yeah,
and
I do too.
As a person of nightlife who is married to a nightlife person, it is very nice that we're not alone.
In my search for a partner, I'm like, must be nightlife. Because I dated somebody for 5 years, good person, but wanted to be in bed and starting to fall asleep at 10 p.m. And I was like, that's what I'm starting to perform. What?
Yeah, no, see, look, when I'm not performing, I am that person.
For sure.
When I'm not, I'm like, yeah, no, I can't do this. I'll take an espresso, drink it, and then I'll go to the gig.
Cold brew is like my drug of choice.
Of course, yeah. That's the only way to go, especially with this heat coming in here in California. It's crazy.
Somebody asked me yesterday when I was walking, they said, are you a human disco ball? And I was like, you know it. And twice as Ruby, I've been a disco ball for Halloween because I'm like, I love first of all, I love the light that comes off the disco ball. I love the energy. LCD sounds because of what they, they get that.
Rhythm is a dancer.
And I love the symbolism of a disco ball, like we're all these broken, fragmented pieces that came together in a ball to shine light.
Exactly, and that's actually a really good swag. Why did I
swag?
Swag way.
We're starting
oh my God.
Swag way too. I feel like you're on a scooter and you segue away to a different.
Exactly. I don't like this conversation. I'm just gonna. Oh my God, this is why I love you, Ramón. Oh my God. So this episode, thank you for being a part of this episode. It really means a lot. And like I said, this episode is about mental health and how it impacts drag artists and drag, and just us as people, right? Yeah. So. First question I have, and it's to both of us, honestly, but to start the conversation of how have it? Let me reword this because I can't spell.
I saw it.
What have been some struggles you faced as far as mental health for you?
Okay, I thought the first one's going to be how Ramón is.
Oh yeah, I mean, how are you, Ramón? Who is Ramón?
Yes, This is for people. I want to say this because I think this could help some people.
Yeah.
Ruby, who is underneath a mustache, love drag, love seeing drag, literally never, not one idea in her brain of like, you know what, I think I want to try that out for myself one day. Was never like a calling, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I was new to LA. Patty Wagers, aka Greasy Buffonti, invited
Yes.
me to drag roller skating party. And I was so intimidated, so scared. I was like,
Really?
I don't know what? I don't know. And
¿Qué
I
es
was
eso?
like in between, yeah, ¿qué es eso? Drag king? What is that?
¿Qué es eso? What's un dragging?
Like all these LA people, so cool. Okay, let me see. I went to my storage unit because I was in between places in that time, as many artists sometimes are. I'm housed. Okay, couldn't afford permanent housing at the time. Different topic. We'll come back to it. Uh, it's a
It's the
scene.
start of every drag person's life, honestly. It's their drag story. It always starts with
Wow,
that. I feel like it does, yeah. Like,
that's wild.
it is
And
wild.
a statement on our government. Anyways, we
Mm-hmm.
come back to that. I went to my storage unit, grabbed what was in arm's reach, and I was doing that thing when I feel like very insecure and scared. I just like delay getting to the event,
Yes.
dragging it out. No pun. I grabbed like this floral cutoff shirt that a friend gave me for Burning Man. Okay, like who cares? Like just a regular floral shirt.
Yeah.
Then boxer briefs with a Spider-Man, no Superman emblem on the
I love it.
socks, knee-high socks that had mushrooms on them. And
Oh.
this wig, which is from a Betty Boop costume that Ruby got at an off-brand Halloween store in 2005, hours before needing to go to a Halloween party. Okay. And it's a child size. I've stretched it out at this point.
Oh my god.
It's on in the car, did my eyebrows, enhanced my Ruby Small. And
Mm-hmm.
I took a photo because in that moment I looked at myself and I was like, pretty cute, pretty convincing, you know?
Yes.
And then I got out of my car. I'm going to physically demonstrate what happened.
Physically demonstrate
This took over my body like a new walk just
a new
happened
walk.
with
For all
swag.
the swag of it all. And if anybody's listening to this, Ramon is literally like walking in, like staying alive, very
Yes,
Saturday Night Fever, walking John Travolta shit. I love
yes.
it. It's great. It's amazing. I love
And
that.
I love that swag. And I could feel it like, whoa, what is this? Because
Mm-hmm.
half an hour ago at our storage unit, we were an insecure bunny being like, I don't know, just like, this is what's in arm's reach, just like put it on and go.
Let's put it on and go. Let's go. Let's go to the mall. Let's go.
We have friends to meet and to make. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm walking, okay, I'm going to say this to Ruby. As I'm walking, first time as a female identifying person, walking down the street as an adult, and no men are checking me out. I'm not getting
Whoa.
stared at. I'm not feeling threatened. They ignore me. And I was like, is this what it's like to be a man? I
Yeah.
just get to walk with freedom and
Mm-hmm.
not being terrified. And I was like, this is so powerful. I want more of this, whatever
Yeah.
this is.
Mm-hmm.
And the accent, it was just like a download. Like it's my uncle and my mom combined. Okay.
Of course. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Okay. It's like a Puerto Rican thing. So like it just like came in. My first name was Raul because I'm obsessed with Raul Julia. And then
Yeah.
I was like, get your own identity. And then Ramon.
Oh, don't feel bad. Okay, my first drag name was Johnny V. Because I wanted it to sound like Pauly D because I love Pauly D so much. Like I still love him so much, but like Johnny V just like did not sound well, and it just sounded like a douchebag New Jersey
Totally.
asshole. Like, and I was
Yes.
like, that's not what I'm going for.
No. Exactly. That's not what I'm going for. I'm going
Mm-mm.
for like gentle masculinity. Because then what happened is, also this is Ruby. What happened was I was like, what kind of man do I want to see out in the world? What kind of man
Mm-hmm.
would I want to date or person? And like I'm Latina, so machismo culture, very toxic.
Very. Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was talking to my dad about this, who like God love him, he's so like open and progressive. It's like drag, great, whatever. Like, he's so proud. He's like, I have another son.
Oh.
Both my parents, very supportive.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
it's amazing. And not always the case. So, like, very grateful. And I told him about this character. He goes, you should make him a womanizer. And I was like, no, that's not what I want to see in the world. That's not what I want to project. That's not what I want to be. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
want to be what I want to see in the world: tender, expansive, open hearted, authentic. And Ramon, for me, is like my higher consciousness. Like, what would I be like without my trauma and triggers?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I need to, even now as Ramon, like, I have Ramon look over my contracts to be like, if it's what you're paying the other men, may I please see what
May I
you're
please
paying the
see?
other performers?
Mm-hmm.
So, like that, or like if I get upset or triggered, I can like be like, how would Ramon reply? Very different
Very
than how
different.
I would reply.
Oh
So
yeah.
Ramon will be like very measured, can take a beat, reactive, but firm and with boundaries. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, let's be real, people respect men more than they
Yep.
do women.
Do.
Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but like, we really have an anti-hate of women and
Mm-hmm.
mothers doing to
Yep.
the planet. Like, it's a sickness.
It
And
really
so I was
is.
like, that's not what I want. And I was looking my entire life. I Gemini rising, you know.
I love that.
Yeah, life as an actor, I was looking like there's something missing. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it was just like, I'm reading white people's plays and being like, can't relate, won't
Yep.
ever be seen for this for an audition, you know, like,
Yep.
this doesn't resonate for me. But I think really deeper what was happening for Ruby was like, I'm missing a part of me. And now that I'm
Yes.
here, I don't feel that way at all.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah,
It's
no,
so healing.
it is very healing, and it's very I can relate to that very much, where I avoided. This is also like part of this mental health talk, as
Yes,
far as like my gender dysphoria that I've had for years, like
yes.
I hated, once puberty started, hated looking in the mirror. Like I would avoid
Oh,
looking in the mirror all the time,
yeah.
because I knew if I looked at myself in the eyes, I knew the truth and I was going to cry. And so I would avoid mirrors all the time. It was until I started to explore makeup, and my friends put me, like, gender bended me as much as they could. And I saw myself in the mirror and I couldn't stop looking at myself. And I was like, who is this guy? And it's like very much how Ramon just came to you. Like I just felt this like oomph confidence. I had never had confidence before then.
Yes,
And
yes,
I was just like, my God, this is amazing. Like I
yes.
look like I would fuck me.
For my literally a remote twin. Okay.
Ramon twin. There you go.
Yes,
But it's just like I was like, oh, you know what? I would fuck me. I would fuck
yes,
me. You know what?
yes,
And it's
yes,
just like, and he just came. Yeah, same thing. It's just like he came, and it's just like, and Johnny is like, I came from a very machismo household. Both of us are Latinos. Like in, so like I'm first generation.
yes.
Military
Same.
Catholic, and like it's like it's I'm it was very much of like, you need to be feminine. You're a woman, you're going to be feminine, and
Yes.
you have to, like, but be independent, but be feminine. But
Mm-hmm.
like, don't answer back because that's rude, but then do this. And it's just like, I don't feel comfortable in this body and this position and this stereotype, and I want to do things that boys can do, and I
Yes.
can do them better. It was even coming out as queer or lesbian at the time. Like it was very much about, like, the machismo was still there, because it was like,
Mm.
okay, well, don't be a butch, or don't, or marry, if you're gonna, I don't mind you're gay, but like, make sure that you marry, like, you don't marry a butch person, or like only femmes, because then you're the man in the relationship, be the masculine one in the relationship. And it's just like, why? And even to this day, being in a marriage where we're both non-binary, we're both
Yes.
trans, like, because I have a facial hair, I take testosterone, like,
Yes.
the machismo is still there, where it's like my mother, and everybody is like, oh, well, you still have to be the, like, male in the relationship. And I'm like, no, honey, I'm the gay man in this relationship. I am, in a birdcage marriage where they're the fabulous Robin Williams and I am Nathan Lane. Okay, I am the drag queen complaining about my aging. Okay, I am that. That is me. Okay, that's how I feel validated in my gender. And
Yes.
but it's so hard because we're as Latinos, we are put in the situation of there's cultural expectations for you. You have to be this way. You don't cry in front of people. You know, like you have to be like strong and independent and you don't believe in therapy. And it's so toxic and unhealthy because these are the same people that put themselves in a very unhealthy environment a lot
Right.
of the time. And it's not fair. But the power of drag, and you elaborated on this very well, is this is in a way us as AFAB people are kind of owning the space that is supposedly only for men, and we're taking that and we're recreating it for ourselves, and we're like, no, we can do this on our own.
Yes.
We don't
Yes.
need you. We don't
Yes.
need men. We are here.
It's
That's
like
it.
I don't even know when people are like, because my parents used to say like, you need a man to take care of you. Sorry, that is a lot of crap. How many men take care of people? Like I was like, don't you mean you need a community that supports you and loves you and lifts you
Exactly.
up? Relying on one person and something happens to that person, I have nothing left. And
Exactly.
why isn't also the dialogue more like we want to create a resilient child, an independent person who knows how to handle things in the world without
Yep.
being like, I need to find another partner to fulfill that. No, because something could happen to them. And then
Yeah.
they go on. And you need a whole we used to be in villages, all supporting one another. Or that's the fantasy I tell myself.
No, I mean there is, like I saw it firsthand. As far as when I was 16, I went to Nicaragua and I lived there for 3 months, and like it was very interesting because everybody knew my grandmother, and like they would be gay, they would be straight, they would be really like senoras on the corner. They knew who Mercedita was, like all the things.
Yeah.
And it was just like if she needed anything, they were like, we got you.
Yes.
Even for me, when I was there, they were like, do you need anything? Asking my mom, do you need anything? And it's just like, and like even for I did my Sweet 16 over there, and they were like all setting up and helping out. Like they all attended like my iglesia y todo. Like it was ridiculous, and I have never seen anything like that. And it was funny because I never understood why my grandmother was so respected by the gay community there.
Yes.
And I found out, like after she passed away, that she would host gay drag shows at her house, and they would put their makeup at her house. So they would literally would say anything from Mercedita, anything. She would yell at them and be like, "Mijo," like blah 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 blah, and they're like, "Yes, Mercedita."
The House
Nothing.
of Merceditas. You have
Completely.
drag lineage.
I'm
Wow.
like, what? You tell me this now?
Yeah. Now that I can't really like do anything with it, okay, fine.
Okay, fine. Like, could have used some of that before.
Something you were saying, like for me, the second I heard, this was maybe like 5, 6 years ago, gender's a construct, I was like, yeah, yeah, it is. And the way I say it for myself is like, I don't experience, Ruby experiences being female when the tits hurt, they get the
Yep.
PMSing, or the bleeding, okay? Whatever
Mm-hmm.
that means. I experience myself as being a person who bleeds, okay?
Yep.
I don't experience myself as female or male until I go outside into the world and
Yeah.
other people are treating me based on that. And drag has been such a radical experience of like, look how, like, I feel how different it is. The
Yep.
second Ramón starts talking, people be quiet and
Mm-hmm.
listening to me,
Yeah.
and sometimes I'll realize, like, excuse me, I'm still talking. Thank you, please interrupt. Like I have to
Yeah.
like claw for it more. But as in the house, you know what I experience more? Being short. I have a stool in every room. Just kidding. Kitchen, bathroom, office, garage, because I short. And
Yeah.
so I actually experience my height, which is not a construct. it's like fact based on science and physics. Okay, that's what I experienced.
Yeah.
And once I heard gender the concept, I was like, that's so true. And it has been, I think, like many things, one of the greatest tools in separating us, manipulating us.
Yes.
White supremacy, okay, patriarchy, the whole enchilada.
All
And
of
what
it.
it does is it creates a system of violence within because you're disconnecting from your divine feminine and divine masculine. And for me, how I experience it is solar and lunar energies. You know,
Oh,
when I
that's
want to go
nice.
inside and be more of my intuitive self and be on, solo walks and integrating, that's my
Yes.
lunar energy. And then solar, my ambition, my go get 'emness, my productivity. And that is how I experience my body, my being. It's not
Yeah.
until I'm in the outside world that gender becomes a thing and a box. And I get so annoyed when people are like, saying I have to clear this label or that label. I'm like, no, honey, queer is it's more than sexuality for me. I am out of the box. I'm in my
Yes.
rainbow. I am expansive and can be whatever I want to be, whenever I want to be. Because we
Exactly.
have so much existing within, so many. Your personality, many times, is a construction of your past trauma,
Yes.
how you feel is acceptable to not be kicked out of the tribe.
Very that. That is, yep.
It can take
Yep.
multiple. I think, because I came at this like with more of an actor character brain,
Yeah.
of like, let's explore this and see what happens. It opened up this whole other universe for me that I've been
Yeah.
missing my entire life. Of like, I want to be in a free landscape where people can just be,
Yes.
and there's no box I have to fill or check, and you're not treating me differently because of how you're perceiving my gender.
And it it's so true, and I think this is the part that actually is really good as far as for this episode. Is a lot of the time us as drag performers or performers in general, we use a lot of the PTSD and the traumas that we've had, whether it's through our childhood, growing
Yes.
up, or even now the traumas we have of discrimination because we're queer, the anti-LGBTQ laws that are affecting us, drag
Mm-hmm.
is a crime, all that
Mm-hmm.
bullshit. Like, these are everyday struggles that we have to deal with on a daily
Yes.
basis. And I don't think that people that are um, non-drag people understand that just us wearing a mustache or us in our drag and going out into the public like that is so terrifying,
Yes.
because it is literally us being vulnerable, being like, hey, I'm a target. If you don't like what I do, like, I'm scared you're gonna come after me.
Yes.
And it is a constant fear, and it's why we have a lot of the LGBTQ plus queers always have depression and anxiety that we on a daily basis have to deal with. And it's not only because we're queer or we do drag or both, but it's also because of the factor that we have had a very long journey to get to where
Mm-hmm.
we are, that a lot of us came from very traumatic backgrounds. And the only way for us to heal that is not only through therapy and practicing the therapy,
Mm-hmm.
but also through our artistry, because it's the only healthy way for us to kind of, at least for myself, is I use my drag to heal my wounds, to
Yes.
heal my traumas,
Yes.
and to redefine what I was raised with. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
it is, Johnny for me is, I actually said this in a documentary I'm a part of, but Johnny, his name is Johnny Gentleman, and because he is what I believe men should be, as far as towards women,
Yes.
towards people,
Yes.
being respectable, being consenting, being,
Yes.
and just being, not being afraid to be flamboyant if he wants to.
Yes.
That masculinity is what you define it, not what gender you are, and
Yes.
anybody can be a gentleman. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a big core of that comes from my own father, who is very misogynistic and was very abusive till probably still physically, I meant like verbally abusive to me and my sisters and my mother. And
Sorry
you
to hear
know,
that. Sorry to hear that.
yeah, appreciate it. But it's, like Johnny is a form of what I wish my
Yes.
father was and
Yes.
who I want to become,
Yes.
as especially now in the process of like becoming a father. It's a
Yeah.
totally it's a whole new spectrum for me, especially being an AFAB person and now becoming a father, quote unquote,
Hmm.
and having a little girl. It has changed my perspective of what a real man is and
Right.
should be. And it's hard to explain to my sisters because have I have stopped my relationship with my father. I don't want one with him,
Yes.
and I don't want him around my children or my family. And they try to push me towards it, but I'm like, no, this is my boundary.
Yeah.
You are not in my shoes.
Yeah.
As a father of a daughter, and the PTSD of getting the memories of me having to, wrestle him off my mother, wrestle him off of my
Yes.
sisters at like 11, 12, 14. Like
Yes.
he almost socked my sister in the face, like, and I
Ay,
blocked it and I socked him in the face instead. And like, you don't touch my sister.
that's
And
right.
me me now in the kind of this a similar shoes than him, it just makes me want to be a better masculine figure
Yes.
for my children. It
Yes.
also, through drag, especially as of lately, I've been exploring more of a performance artistry, to where I want to heal my wounds because it really affects my everyday life.
Absolutely.
And
The biggest
it's
lie they tell
crazy.
us is that you know, especially in machismo households, don't have
Mm-hmm.
emotions, use your
Yes.
thinking brain. Guess what? Your nervous system is completely in response to how you're feeling. If you don't feel safe, you go into fight or flight or fawn or
Mm-hmm.
freeze. That's how you react. So if we do not have emotional intelligence, tools for self-regulation, tools to understand boundaries and how to enforce them, because your emotions are dictating all the time what you eat, who you talk to, how you talk to them,
Yep.
how you're reacting. You want to get to a place where you're emotionally regulated so you can respond and not react. And that is the
Exactly.
greatest lie. It's like literally like that's not how your nervous system works. Your
Yeah.
nervous system is literally in response to your emotions, which
Yes.
come in and out. And the moment that you're actually, and this is what my whole show is about, and all the work I do is like, we act, and I hated it. Ruby hated to feel her feelings. It's still a process.
Yeah.
So everything I'm teaching and showing in my shows and talking about online is because Ruby's doing it as well. And Ramon is like her safe space to do it with. Are my friends and now my parents and therapists, but like it's an everyday muscle flex workout. And the
Yeah.
motion I hate the least, especially because I'm sure you were told us many times in childhood, don't cry. Don't
Yes.
let them see you as weak. When the hardest thing to do,
That one.
I could lift 50 pounds, not easily. Okay, like definitely, I hurt my back. I'd probably get a
You
hernia.
gotta do this.
Get your knees in there. Really get them in there.
Yeah.
But the hardest thing is to allow myself to go vulnerable and cry. Still,
Yeah.
Ruby hates it. Every day this week, I've cried hard,
Yeah.
for things happening in Gaza, for things happening here. There's so much sadness and turbulence and violence, and it really affects me. And in my own personal life, I don't have an apartment right now because it has mold. I'm,
Mm-hmm.
have a lawyer now for legal actions.
Yes, lawyer.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, lawyer.
Will also my building manager. Like all questions can now be directed to my lawyer.
Oh.
It's such a swag move. Like, oh. They're working on contingency, which means my case is pretty freaking good. Oops. And to like, but it's been so, and I'm in the middle of a breakup and processing that. And where will I live and how will I survive? All those survival,
Yeah.
and it's been
Survival.
happening since January, and it has not improved. So it's just been like 5 months of pain and sorrow amongst a world that is very violent, and we're seeing more of it, and it's so painful. So I remind myself, if we don't process and take care of our emotional health, one, we're just a fraud, you know. But also, like, that will contribute to more violence in the world, because then I will be in a reactive space. I will be less in control of how I want to actually respond. I'll be putting out negativity and hatred to protect myself. But I could also take the time. This is also, it's very hard if you are in survival mode and don't have money. So that's why in my show I teach free, easy tools for people to do, because I don't want anybody not being able to afford mental health tools and access. And I was very lucky that in the pandemic, I got many scholarships to trauma informed healing programs. I mean, 5 of them. I got 5 different scholarships. So I could study with Gabor Mate, Peter Levine, Bessel van der Kolk, all these. I'm saying all these men's names because they're like, of course, men are the head of doing trauma research. There's plenty of women. Drea One Consciousness, she's fantastic. But so I could participate and start learning, how do I actually be with these emotions? Because what I've done my entire life is seek external validation and how I perform, but I'm not actually I can't actually stand to be with myself. And so once I started doing trauma informed work, and learning the tools of how to be with my emotions, everything changed. And it's still hard. It's still uncomfortable. I don't know. I told myself the other day, I'm going to let go of the dream that I need to feel comfortable crying. Your body's trembling, you're shaking, stomach in your nose, and it's just like, when will this end? I cried on the phone with my mother for 2 hours, you know? And I'm getting to the place, some days it's hard, where I say, I wake up and I say, shit, because it's more of the same. And so what do? I take, on the days I can't, that I don't have to wake up to work, I take those 2 hours to regulate my emotions, to start playing my sound bath tools, to meditate, to go for a walk, to go for yoga, to call a friend while I'm cooking, to regulate. So I can start coming back into me and start feeling safe in the world again, to go out and do the work that I know I need to do, that I finally feel as a person like, this is my calling, is to teach mental health and trauma informed tools without ever saying those words. I just say emotions. That's what it is. I say, yeah, emo. Make it fun, they'll come to the party.
Emotion train.
All of it is, you have to consent, right? So my show, I say, if you don't want to do this activity, don't.
Don't do it.
And we were talking earlier about the flamboyancy, which I love. Walter Mercado, so flamboyant. What a character. I don't know their whole story, but I remember when I first saw them, I was like, I didn't know we were allowed to do that.
Right? My mamita, who was my great grandmother, she would watch it all the time. Like, Walter Mercado was like a thing in my house, and because I didn't now I realize that she was so into that astrology shit. She was so into it, and I come from a very long line of brujas. Like, it is there, and so I'm like, okay, that's fine, but I was so mesmerized by his flamboyancy and his outfits and his rings. It's why I love rings so much. I don't feel complete if I don't have both hands full of rings. Does it make sense? But he was the fluffy hair, the very makeup. It was the first time I ever saw a man being super flamboyant, super feminine, and I thought that was so cool because it was totally opposite of what I was raised. Very machismo, Nicaragüense guys, oh, you have to provide for the family, blah blah blah. And it's just there's this man on this TV telling you he loves you, giving you love, mucho mucho amor, just going it and just giving it and blowing a kiss to you. It was the coolest thing for me as a kid to see, and it makes so much sense now because he was a part of our community, and he couldn't publicize that because Latinidad doesn't let you do that, and to be a mega star like that, like they're not going to let you do that, especially in the 80s and 90s. They're not going to let you do that. So, but it's so crazy because there is the suppression to us people to suppress who they truly are is what causes trauma to individuals and
literally
violence.
Violating yourself and denying yourself. You're cutting yourself off from yourself. What could be more violating than that?
Yeah, you
And
say, I
sometimes the
can't do
body
this.
has to survive in preservation. And my whole journey has been coming back into my body. And
Yeah.
that's what Ramon has been able to do for Ruby, help her come back. You know, after
Yes.
sexual assault, after violent upbringing, after dating cuckoo crazy violent people, even if they're emotionally violent, like
Yeah.
just as bad, you just don't have bruises and scars on your skin.
But honestly, I don't know about you, but for me, I was very much on a daily basis. Verbal violence was a part of my household all
Yes.
the time. And to
Shame
this day,
language, a lot of shame,
a lot of
right?
shame language. I was told, hey, you need to lose weight or else no one's going to date you
Yes,
by my own
yes,
father.
yes, both my
And
parents.
you need to be this, and why can't you be like this, and you're a piece of shit, like why aren't you doing this right? And it's like all these kind of things just caused, and it got to a point where I didn't realize this until I moved out like 3.5 years ago, and my beautiful spouse helped me out with this. I was so it was to a point where I was pathologically lying just for survival.
Yes.
Because that's how my mom would tell us. It's like, don't tell your father, just tell him this. So whenever somebody would come up to me and be like, why did you do this? I would just panic and just come up with something and just go. And it would cause more problems than it did healing situations. For me, till this day, even through therapy, years of therapy and things like that, I still I have abandonment issues. I have insecurities. I have so many issues of where if I feel like a friend, if my friend is, I feel like my friend's ignoring me. I feel like I did something wrong. What did I do?
Mm-hmm.
Is it my
Mm-hmm.
fault? And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, and if I have a problem with a friend, it's like it hurts me to confront them because I'm like, oh, if I stand up for myself, I'm gonna lose them. And it's and the same thing goes to like even the drag world. It's like if I stand up for myself, they're not going to book me again. If I say this, they're gonna tell everybody, and then I'm not going to have a gig anymore. And it's just that it sucks really hard because when I feel like I stand up for myself and people make me feel like I'm a bad person for standing up for myself, then it just sticks to me.
Mm-hmm.
The verbal emotional abuse for me is more hurtful for me
Yeah.
than a physical thing because it'll just stick in my mind and replay and replay and replay and
Yeah.
replay. And then it gets to a point where I'm like, like there's been times where it just replays and replays and replays. It replays with my past. It replays now. It replays all the fucking time. And then it gets to a point where I'm like, why am I even here? And
Or like I can't
that's
do
not
this
healthy.
anymore.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's the littlest things
Yeah.
that people tell you. And they probably don't mean it in a way that, like, to hurt you. But the thing is the truth, what you're telling this person, you never know if that's going to be triggering for them.
Right.
And you didn't ask. Is
That's why you need
this,
to ask for consent
yeah, you need to ask for consent
to
because, or
give
like,
your
what
opinion.
is, or what's your, how would you like to be approached of this situation?
Right.
Or how can I help you to understand this? Instead of being like, no, you're just this. No, you're being this. All these things. And it's just like, do I even deserve that? No.
Mm.
And I think there's a lot of people that don't take that into consideration, even if they're like very advocates about mental health. I don't think they're thinking about how people with trauma and people with PTSD, depression, anxiety, insecurity issues, abandonment issues, isolation, we get triggered by the littlest things.
Yeah.
And we need people to ask us, how can I best communicate with you?
I love that. So simple
Yeah.
and yet so impactful. It allows it to be personal because the work I'm starting to do, I've started, for the past year, and it's will probably be my lifelong journey of
Yeah.
approaching with kindness and compassion. My friend
Mm-hmm.
made me a thing for my birthday, embroidered something that said, "Do no harm, but take no shit."
Yeah.
And that's kind of like my mantra for Ruby and Ramon.
I love
And
it.
so, like, when I approach with like that Buddhist mindset of kindness and compassion, how can I be more compassionate? And I dated a person for a while who had that same thing of like serial lying based out of shame. Sometimes it'd be so tiny, I'd be like, I don't even know why you're lying about this. Is inconsequential, or like, I don't think you doing this is wrong. What upsets me is that you lied. Why
Yeah.
did you lie? Because they feel shame about it. And I said, okay, what's the story you're telling yourself? The story I'm telling myself is you will leave me if I tell you the truth. I said,
Exactly.
but what's actually happening is I'm leaving because I can't trust you, not because of these behaviors or things that you think are unlovable or undesirable.
Yeah.
And so, I send so much like blessings and peace and compassion to that person because I used to be that way too. I mean, Ruby was big time liar.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't lie about things in my house with my parents, I would get beaten or grounded or
Yep.
had to, because sometimes they were just so crazy and controlling. They'd be like, no, you can't go to this dance. And it's like, but why? But why? There's no reason for you to say no to this.
Yeah.
And so I would sneak out and
Mm-hmm.
pretend, or I would say, okay, I'm going to a sleepover at a friend's house. First, we're going to the dance, then I'm going to boy's house,
Then we
then
go.
I go, and sometimes I get caught. So, and I would get punished bad. I mean, bad. But my only way through, because I was like, I need social connection. My parents won't allow me to have a social connection that I actually need to survive. And
Yes.
so I'm going to get it in whatever way I can. And then that behavior continues into adulthood. And I'm so grateful for my three good girlfriends, is what we call one another from
Oh.
college, who like would call me out and be like, why are you lying? And sometimes it's because I was afraid to be vulnerable. Like, even just admitting I liked a person, I'd be like, no, I don't. Couldn't admit it because it was too scary. Because what if they don't like me back?
Yeah.
Or what if they leave,
Mm-hmm.
And then all the abandonment wounds of my dad separating from my mother and not having him around, but also sometimes it's good to not have him around because he has a temper but all of that, like, I am abandoned. And so I'd
Yep.
rather just pretend that it doesn't affect me. I am too cool for school.
Facts.
And Ramon is the opposite. He's like, first of all, I'm very cool, but I'm cool because I'm being myself. That's what cool is. Be cool, be you.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you see somebody pretending to be cool or cut off or that doesn't affect them, they're not being a person.
No.
And that was a hard road for me to really be honest and vulnerable, to really let people know, like, hey, I felt let down in this moment, or like, you didn't honor this agreement. And some people were available for those conversations, some people
Yeah.
weren't. Now I'm able to send them with blessings.
Yeah.
Back then I was not. Ruby was not. She was like, why don't you, you know?
She's just
And
like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
yeah,
You're cool. Fuck you.
exactly, exactly. But it's so hard to live in your truth and honesty and integrity when your culture doesn't encourage that, your environment doesn't, and when the
Nope.
fear is all the time. In every human, I don't want to be kicked out of the tribe. There's very few people on this planet that are super content just being isolated. And to those people, good for them, but that's not the norm. The norm is feeling afraid of being unloved and not in community. So it makes total sense that we're
Yeah.
terrified to have these conversations. And yet, this is what I do now. I'm like, let me test it.
Yeah.
Can my friends still love me if I'm 15 minutes late? Can they still love me? Can I take them being annoyed at me
Yeah.
without shutting down?
Mm-hmm.
Can I honor certain agreements without it feeling like it's taking from me?
Yeah.
and being really honest with myself, like I can do this, I cannot do this. And when there is conflict, and there's certainly been conflicts or disagreements, it is very hard on the nervous system. And yet it's okay now if I say to myself that I acted in my integrity and authenticity, and I only said yes to what I actually knew I could do. And that's it. And if it disappoints them, let me start practicing being comfortable disappointing people, because it will happen. You will
Yes.
disappoint people and they will disappoint you. And if it means that's the end of the connection, and other times it's an opportunity to dive deeper. Other times, time to take a break. I had a friendship. We took a break for a while, and now we're starting to hang out again, talk again, dance together again. And in that time, I actually got to process, how many times am I depending on this person to cheer me up
Yeah.
instead of me doing that work? And how much heavy lifting I was giving to them
Yeah.
to be that source of, like, make me feel good, make me feel validated, make me feel worthy.
Yeah.
They can encourage and add to that, but that can't be the sole source of that. And I'm making them the sole source.
Yeah.
So it's been very hard. And I want to say also about flamboyancy. Male birds are the most flamboyant, okay? Like, they pick off the fuck to be like, hey, chickie, chickie, look over here, look at my, in all those nature docs, you always see the male birds being like, look, you see this red spot on the back of my wing? You like that? How about now? Let me fluff it up more. So, like, flamboyancy only being a female thing is like, that's not true in nature. Like, we
Well,
have to,
also, it's also peacocks, right? Like
yes,
peacocks, like the male peacocks are the ones that are like savage,
yes,
like it's just,
exactly.
you see that, or it's like even penguins. It's like the male goes and finds the prettiest stone, little pebble,
Yeah,
and brings it at her feet,
yeah,
and it's up to her to accept it, and that's the
yeah,
life partner. And it's just
yes,
like, how are we making it a priority that in order to be a masculine person, quote unquote, the only way to be masculine is to be quote unquote manly.
yeah,
Why can't why can't there be any kind of vulnerability with
yeah,
masculinity? Why can't there be a neutral understanding of gender? Why can't we have equal expectations for gender
yes,
where either one can do as they please? Like, one does not have to provide and the other one stay at home. No, like there is no superiority complex. And it's funny because now I'm in a situation where I am passing as a masculine person. So men approach me very like, "Hey, what's up, man? Like, how's it going?" And it's just like, "Cool, thanks, cool, like whatever." And then, but it's like, they'll be like, "Bitches, man," and I'm like,
I don't.
I don't. And then like sometimes if I really want to piss them off, I was like, I don't know what that means. And then they're like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't know, because like I have a vagina, so like I don't know.
I don't know if we want to reduce an entire group of people to just being bitches. It sounds like you have some unprocessed anger, and I'm here for you to start unpacking it, but this is not how we're going to heal that wound that seems to be very deep inside of you.
Yes. Oh my god, my favorite moment was going. We go to the go do ultrasounds all the time. Now, and so we have to go to these special appointments. And one of the special appointments that we had was like to make sure that like our baby girl doesn't have any like neurological issues, special needs things, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a special scanner thing that you need to do for it.
Right.
And like the nurse is talking to my spouse, and I'm there. I go to every appointment, making sure everything. So we're talking about this special procedure to like make it. It's an extra test where like they put a needle through like the stomach to test if the baby has any special needs, like in case of any like really rare sicknesses.
Yes.
And like it's optional, but it's very much like we were trying to ask like, do we need to do it because my mother-in-law was enforcing us to do it. And we are
Yeah.
like, we don't want to do this. And so they were explaining how like it's only for like really serious rare conditions, or if you have a history of family illnesses, family illnesses that are really rare and effective. And this is like a cis hetero woman explaining this thing, and I think she forgot that we were a trans couple, and I was like, and they're like, okay, and my spouse was like, okay, yeah, yeah, and I was like, yeah, babe, so like, I'm gonna have to do it when I get pregnant. And she just looks at me like, huh? And it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna have to do that test because my family has a history of seizure disorder. So I need to make sure, like, when I get pregnant, that like these are the situations and these are the tests that I have to do. Yeah. And it's just so funny because it's just like, yeah, she just looks like, yeah, sure, like you understand that, and it's like, actually, I do because I have the same parts.
Yeah, I got a uterus.
I got a uterus too. Okay, I had periods for several years. It's fine. Yeah. And it's just, being in, I don't think this is talked about either. And I don't know if I'm the only one that has observed this as a trans person, but like being a trans mass person and understanding the feminine body and the feminine mentality, living feminine for a majority of my life, and then now merging into this masculine, testosterone environment society that's very much about suppressing people like with estrogen. I just don't. I'm like, I don't. Why are you? This is ridiculous. Like this is this. What you're doing is you are trying to lower this group of amazing people. Yeah. To make yourself more confident, because you can't carry a baby. You can't carry a baby, have a job, still manage kids. You're tired if you just go to work and you just come back. Like you just pop a beer and you watch TV. That's what you do. Oh. How is like they, and even just seeing the parental leave situation, masculine people
in this country. That's not happening in other countries.
Yeah, masculine people get more time off, paid time off than women do, or AFAB people. It's fucking ridiculous. Yeah.
Are you serious? Mm-hmm. I'm shaking my head. People that are listening, I'm shaking my head. There's so much I want to say about that, and I wonder so much, like, is this just a lack of knowledge, or like, how do we start turning that leaf over as a collective and having conversations about that? Especially because in other countries, I mean, there's other countries where you get 2 years of parental leave. As a person that was a nanny, that will not be having children, give them the 2 years off.
Yeah.
Those parents need to rear their children. And when you don't have that kind of connection, the parents, in a dedicated way, it cuts you off from them. That's the first abandonment.
Yep. This is what causes a lot of mental health issues, and the rise of mental health issues at a very young age for people is the government suppressing, putting money over family, and religion over family, honestly. And it's like listeners listen to this, viewers listening to this, I hope this makes all of this sense. But
we edit it and post so it only makes sense.
But like mental health,
it starts in utero.
It starts as a society. We need to give more healthy resources, healthy expectations for our community, for the people in this United States. It doesn't matter if they're straight, they're gay, they're trans, doesn't give a fuck. Everybody should be given equal access, equal rights, equal opportunity, protection. Because the problem we have is that there is so much hate in this world. There is so much negativity that is being displayed out there, that everybody cares more about the money and the religion than they do about people and being proper human beings. Right. And trust me, I read the Bible. I studied the Bible. I did. I was in Catholic school for 6 years. Okay, I was a catechist at the Catholic Church. I was a youth ministry leader.
I don't know what any of those words are. That's how non-religious
I lived at church my senior year. That's how I can explain that. Like my junior, senior year, I lived at church, and even beyond, like 2 more years, 4 years straight. I was literally molding the minds of young Catholic kids.
My jaws dropped,
Yeah,
listeners.
yeah. Okay, I have studied the Bible. I have studied it with nuns. I used to teach it. I would lead masses. It was a thing. So I understand what the Bible says. I was very fortunate that the churches I was a part of were very much pro LGBTQ plus.
Wow.
Which is very progressive. And the thing is like when I saw that there was a church that wasn't progressive as far as like accepting of queer people, because I have queer family, like a majority of my family is queer in Central America, which is hilarious.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah, like half of my Nicaraguan family are gay, and it's ridiculous. But like it was always an important thing to see everybody as an equal, love everybody equally,
Yeah.
and see everything as a normal thing,
Yeah.
And that helped me. And I'm very thankful for having that mentality now because for me, seeing any kind of a form of life, I'm just like, I want you to be loved. I want to give you
Yeah.
the love. You might not feel it at home, but I want you to feel it here. And
Yes.
it's why I try myself to make as much all ages events as possible because we live in a whole entire country that is very anti LGBTQ youth, gender affirming care. It really breaks my heart because I used to be one of them, and I wish I had the kind of environment and communities that we have today. And
And you do such really.
thank you.
Not only a safe space, an inclusive space. You're one of the few drag kings that's invited me to do their show. Because
I
I
mean,
got
I
my
don't
start
understand
doing.
why.
I think it's just people don't know me. I don't know. Because I got my start doing festivals,
Yeah,
music festivals. And I was only drag king performer. Just kept doing that. And I'd also come from the comedy world. So then
yeah,
I started doing like, okay, like I'm going to do a comedy and drag. And I didn't start doing the lip syncing and dancing till recently. And also melding like, okay, I'm going to do the song and dance and also interrupt it and talk about gun rights. You
yeah,
know, like make it political because that's what the song is calling for, or like
yeah,
it's happening in our country, this gun violence, and Ramon wants to speak to any violence that's happening so we can
yeah,
have a better way, an empowered way of tackling something that's huge, which is gun violence in America,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, exactly. And
and
I
like
think
using that platform of entertainment to be like, by the way, now while I have your attention, do you know there's a bill that we could all sign, that would make this rifle.
I love that number so much.
But you're one of the few drag kings for me that's created a really safe space for me to show up because I'm so new to the
Mm-hmm.
quote drag world. I'm
Yep.
used to doing drag in the comedy world. I'm on
Yes.
festivals and I haven't had um, really any negative experience to speak of. I definitely get, interesting enough, from people that I would call themselves lesbians, like more of a look like, what am I looking at
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And I'm like, I'm Ramon. How are you? And they're like, okay, love it all, a little confused. And I'm like, nothing to be confused about. So,
Oh God. Okay, this makes me feel so validated. Because see,
and I'm
that's the
like,
thing.
lady, like that, because I got to tell you, a lot of the straight men have no beef with what I'm up to,
Yeah.
which is very interesting. I mean, I've had so many straight men come up to me and be like, I find your work and you very disarming. And what does that tell you? This is a gender that is always in protective mode. Not
Yeah.
always, but to survive as a man, protection and threat, like things are a threat and don't show your feelings. How fucking tragic that the emotional allowance that we give for women, we don't give women anger, right? But then the rest of them they can have.
Yeah.
Men, only anger, the rest of the emotions you don't get access to. How
Yeah.
fucking limiting. Like, we're humans. Let us emote. Okay? That's a whole
Yeah.
point. I think we're meant to be emotional beings because
Mm-hmm.
we have them all. And that is actually what's driving the bus all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, to witness and hear so many men say that word disarming, I was like, whoa. And I had no intention of doing drag. Really was for anyone. I started doing drag because I felt good doing it. And I
Yeah.
was finding my voice and I was finding expression. And to slowly start hearing that it was helping men start embracing their emotions, I was like, what? Cool. Like, I didn't build this specifically for you, but this was a message to your group to be like, start being more fucking gentle. Okay? Like, start being
You're
gentle with
welcome.
yourself. And I want y'all to feel, because I want you to feel better. What'd you say?
I said tip me now. Tip me now. You're
Thank.
welcome.
I
Now tip me.
appreciate the
Money,
compliment.
please.
Money, please.
Money, please.
Pay me the same as the other performers, please. You
Thank
know.
you.
And the
Yeah,
clown community. I got really adopted by the clown community too.
I can see it. It makes so much sense, and
It
it's
makes so much
gorgeous.
sense.
But like your art, but that's the thing is when I see your drag, it is very much a bright image of masculinity because it's really gentle. It's a gentle, sensitive boy, like who's like you don't really fuck with. He's just like he very much reminds me of like the short Latino guy that in the group that
Yeah.
like is like I'm gonna fuck you up, but like also you need to like calm your shit, man. Like
Or like, I always think of it like, because, people say things to me, Ramon, and it's so easy for me as Ramon to say no, to be like, no, thank you. That's not for me. Good for you, but that's not for me. Whereas
yep,
as Ruby, I'm like, I don't know. It's not, like, it's so ingrained in me to apologize for saying no as Ruby. Ramon is just like, no, thank you. Station,
nope,
you know, that, and I will say also, like, the drag queens have been so kind to me. Like,
yeah,
I've only been loved upon, and like, and I do get the looks like, what the fuck is this? What is
yeah.
this? And I'm like, just you wait and see.
Just wait.
So you'll see, you'll see. I won't do a death drop because I only have medical and I love my knees too much to subject them to that. But energetically, I will death drop. You'll see.
Not the medical.
If I hurt my knees, I'd be on a waiting list for 9 months to get surgery.
Honey, I got
People
that
from
free
other
healthcare.
countries will hear this and be like, what the fuck is wrong with your country and their healthcare system?
Everything. Literally everything. Literally everything. You know what's
But so,
bad? Ugh. I'm just
yeah,
like, you know what's bad? When I got my top surgery, they were like, hey, you have some extra fat on the sides. We can't charge that to your insurance because that's technically cosmetic. So you have to give us $2,000 to suck it out, or else you just keep it.
you're already there. You're already there.
Just suck it
Just
out.
finish.
Just
Don't tell. Just like 500 under the table. Just take it.
take it
Why you gotta
out.
be?
I
Why you
know.
gotta be?
America Healthcare. That's what it is.
Looking forward to the day when I can like pay for things with my crystal collection, or just to like you get an hour of therapy with Ramon. That's a $1,500 experience. Let's go. Let's go. And now please
Yes.
do my teeth, okay? Because I need these to chew, you know. But I wanted to touch on something that you were saying earlier about the, like boundaries, especially with family. And this is so true in Latino culture and probably in other like machismo cultures.
Yes.
If you do have a toxic parent, could be mine, it could be your dad, your mother. I had to for many years cut off my father health. I was like, if I continue, like I can't stay alive and be in conversation with you and have you in my life. What you did to me was so harmful and brutal, and you're still doing it. And I'm a woman in my 30s, and I'm tired of this. If Please note that all five of your children have an incredibly difficult time having healthy romantic relationships
Yep.
because of what you and my mother put us through. What you
Yep.
put us through, it has scarred us for life. We're fucked up, and I have to push you off and now do the therapy I need to do to heal that wound.
Exactly.
And I never felt more empowered in my life with both my parents. I cut them both off at the same time because they were shaming and blaming me for a situation that was actually not my fault. And
Yep.
I screamed a primal scream. I mean, a scream I'd never screamed before or ever again. I felt it in my belly of like, no, you don't get to talk to me like this. Fucking.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm done. And when I told my dad, like, for this reason, this reason, this reason, I can't talk to him, or he goes, are you done? Are you done? I said, yes. Hangs up the phone, which is just more of the like, there's so much. And then from that, I was free to start
Yeah.
work out the interference without the oppression. And it took my mother maybe 6 months before we started talking again. And
Wow.
she was able to start apologizing and really see herself. And she said to me later, must have done something really bad if you would just one day be like, I never want to talk to you again.
Yeah.
Never. You're not apologizing for what you put us through. You're not apologizing for the abuse. if I hear one more time I deserve to get hit, I'm going to lose. You know, like I will lose it. Like I'm losing already. My mental health has suffered from abuse. And I really want more compassion in the world for that, because we never know where a performer or any person, what they've had to deal with or struggle with. So when they come to that venue, like, just approach them with love and create safety and kindness and compassion, because like you have no idea what they've been through to get there.
Yeah.
And then with my dad, it didn't get resolved 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, didn't see them, didn't talk to them. My dad got very ill, was in the hospital. I'm talking now through review. We can all tell. And was in the ICU. And, you know, my older sibling was like, I think you need to, like, this could be it. So, like, you might want to go down there and say goodbye, because you might not want to deal with gambling on that he'll make it through at this point. It's bad.
Yeah.
And so I went to go see him, and I remember going, before I went to the room, I called one of my girlfriends, Kate, shout out, and she said, don't go in there expecting an apology. Don't go in there expecting that wound is going to be healed.
Yeah.
Go in there with the compassion. There's a sick man who's dying, who you know, and just give him that compassion of like, I hope you start feeling better.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I can do that. Because I did it. I was in the hospital stalling going up, because I was like, oh God, how do I get in there?
Yep.
You know? And when she said, I was like, great, that can be my mindset. Like, I will have compassion for a sick, probably dying person. And I went in there, and he was sleeping. And I saw how frail and sick he was, and it shocked me. Because when you start seeing your parents get older, it's a shock to the system. And
Yeah.
when you see, like, their foot dangling off the hospital bed, and you're like, oh my God, like, you're it, like, you're the color of his skin. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, and so much time has passed, necessary time,
Yes.
no regrets. Let's just have compassion for an ill person, the way we would want compassion.
Yep.
And he woke up and he started crying. I'm going to start crying saying this. He started crying and, you know, asking for me to come over and hold his hand. And he said the same thing. I must have done something really wrong. And he apologized. And, you know, from there we started working on it. And it's taken many conversations and many times of me exerting boundaries and being like, you don't get to talk to me that way. And he'll be like, you're my daughter. I can talk to you whatever way I want. No, no, you
No.
can't. And I highly recommend microdosing mushrooms for those difficult conversations. I teach classes, sliding scale. No price is too low for me to help you with your microdose journey.
Honestly, I'm
Yes.
good. Thank you for that. That
Yes. Because
I
it
will
helps
mind hit
you.
you up.
Yes, please. Anytime. Anytime. And for my dear ones, free of charge. The mushrooms are the medicine, and I'm just here to help people learn how to appropriately use it with intentionality and connection. And to, like, for me, the mushrooms were like my allies inside of my body that kept me in my boundaries. And there
Yeah.
were many times where my dad would hang up on me on the phone, or he'd be like, well, you don't have a father anymore. And I'd be like, you literally can't do that. Biologically speaking, that's impossible. Stop it. You
Yeah.
know, like, you're just being a baby because you're upset that someone said no to you. And it is hard when someone says no to you. And I encourage you to journal about what that feels like. Like, what's happening for you when you hear no from your daughter. I'm not
Yeah.
emasculating you. I'm not being physically violent with you. I'm not putting you down. I just said no. And I'm allowed to say no whenever the fuck I want.
Yep.
And then I started using consent language with him. Like, I don't consent to you talking to me that way. And he heard it.
Yeah.
Like, for whatever reason, that word made him be like, oh, okay. You know, I mean, again, many, many conversations, a
Yes.
lot of emotional labor. I would not do this with any other human on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to do a lot with my brothers too. And, you know, the rule is, if you don't treat me properly, I will fucking leave. I
Yeah.
have an army of friends. My social calendar be booked up through 2025. Okay. So, like,
Yes.
if I make time for you, not only is a gift and an honor, but, like, do me the honor of treating me with respect. And if
Exactly.
that's not available for you, I can't continue. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what's up.
Yeah. Completely. It's. I
And it's
think
hard. It's hard. You
it's
don't have to
hard.
forgive them. You
You
fucking
don't.
don't. What you need to do is forgive yourself for ever not having your own back. And forgive yourself for, like, I did the best I could with what I needed to do to survive at the time. this person that brought me into the world did not know how to take care of me, and they probably don't even know how to take care of themselves, and they probably have no capacity for dealing with their own trauma and pain and sadness. And it is not my responsibility to deal with that for them. That's their job.
Yep. I thank you for sharing that. That's really beautiful, and I very much relate to it as far as, I left my house.
Good.
I left my house because it was a horrible situation. Probably not the way I should have done it, but
You cannot, if there was an excessive table throwing, bridge burn, word shared moment, I do think the group of people that can handle it the most is your family. But
it
the
was just very.
response is in response to what I have been putting up with.
Yeah, no, it was just like, it was my sister's birthday, and me, my sister, my mom, we ended up getting drunk, and I've secretly been going to gender therapy and starting the process of top surgery. So I kind of blurted it out drunkenly, like, yeah, I can't wait to get my tits out. And they were like, what? They turned around, and it just became this whole entire scene. And my mother was saying, how can you do this? Why are you doing this to the body that God gave you? How can you do this to us? My sister saying that, like, I'm doing it because it's a trend, and because my ex was going to do it, and now I want to do it, and like that it's ridiculous. Why would I want to be a man? I can't be non-binary. Like, I'm rather a man or a woman, all these horrible things. And I was literally stuck in a closet for like 3 hours. Because I wanted to be alone, and I was like, I want to be alone. Like, I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
And I was literally in my closet, like holding, and my mom like breaks open the door and is just like screaming all these things, like, how could you do this to us? All these things, just repeating herself, like, stop, don't stop hurting me, all these things. And I'm just like crying. I end up calling my now spouse, who, I lived in Montclair, California, which is the Inland Empire. And like, they lived here in Studio City, and they drove all the way over at like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and calmed down my mom and just was like, hey, I'm going to help you pack one bag. We're going to get out of here. And just like explain to my mom the best way they could of like, I'm going to take them because they're feeling very threatened. They just need some space. And somehow, some way, they got convinced my mom to be okay with me just going. Good. I ended up never going back. And I didn't talk to my mom for 2 years, or my other sisters. Only my older sister was the only one I was talking to as far as my family, and because she was the only one that was actually very accepting, and her husband and my nephews, and that's why like they mean the world to me, because they were the only sense of family I had for 2 years. Like it would hurt because they apparently would like reject any mention of me in conversations for 2 years. And it took me having to want to propose to my person and start my family that I had to like be the better person in this horrible situation, which is not my responsibility, and it shouldn't be anybody's responsibility ever.
No.
But I wanted to do it for the sake of myself, not for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I made a brunch, and I had all my sisters with me and my mom. And I said, here's the deal. I just want to catch up. I want to tell you what's happening. And Latinidad culture, supposedly, like, you have to, ask, your family for permission to get married or whatever fuck. And I literally just sat them down. I'm like, here, this is the situation. I am, I'm transitioning. I'm asking this person to marry me. You have no say in it at all. You're going to accept it. I'm going to start a family, and I would like y'all to be a part of my life, but I need you to respect my boundaries. I need you to respect my family, and I need you to educate yourselves on how to properly be an ally to my community, because I am not going to take any kind of discrimination into my household. And so if we're going to hash shit right now, we need to hash it right now before anything else. And it was really great because they started to confess that they had done research and, realized what they had done, and they apologized for it. And then, like, my mom, being the mother, Latina mother, was just like, well, you hurt me. I was like, how much do you think it hurt me for my mother to reject me for who I am?
Yes.
I was like, you weren't there for my top surgery because you said that you didn't want to leave my father. I was in pain, and you said you couldn't make time for your daughter. Do you know how much that hurt? And she just kept silent, and she said, I'm sorry. And to this day, she's still learning some stuff. We're still working on the reprogramming of all of my siblings and stuff. But, I made it a very heavy thing where I was like, I don't want my father in my life, because the it point for me, and it shouldn't have been that, but about less than 2 years ago, I get a phone call from my sister saying, hey, the police are here at mom's house and I need your help. So we drove down, only to find out that my father got into an argument with my mother, calling her vulgar things as usual, gets at my sister for the same thing. And by this time, she hadn't known it, but she had just gotten inseminated through IUI and was pregnant. And he choked both of them and slammed them on the wall and was pretty much like being physically abusive. And my little sister called the cops on my parents. And the cops came in when my dad was choking my mom on the wall. And I was like, that's it. It's done. Yeah. I'm not doing that. That's it. He's out. I don't want to ever see him again. I don't want him a part of my life. I already had issues with him. He made me feel like a piece of shit all my life. Mm-hmm. It's a breaking point when you're choking. Yes. You're choking my sister who's pregnant. Like, that's it. That's done. Yes. And,
And I want to the community, you're not alone when this happens in your house. It's so humiliating and scary and isolating. Yeah. All of that. Because I grew up with that too. Called the cop parents several times. Okay, one time Ramoncito, as Ruby tried to punch back my dad. Okay? Yeah. Like, choking. I tried to intervene. My reach was too short. Went to go for it. It's just hanging in the air, wiggling about, And I was like, next time I fucking kill you, So I wouldn't normalize that behavior. That kind of violence is not okay, and it happens a lot in our household. And I think it's very therapeutic for all of us to talk about it, because it is so scary and shameful, and it hurt. It, like, not only does it physically hurt, but like it hurts your psyche, Yeah. And if the people that brought you into this world are mishandling you, mm-hmm. the story you write and tell yourself is, there's something wrong with me. That's why they're hurting me. That's why they're being abusive. I'm unlovable. I don't deserve to feel safe.
Yeah.
And that shit can last with you for an entire lifetime. And I'm still on that recovery journey.
Same. Yeah, it was just like for you and your father, for me, it was a very unexpected moment, but I'm very glad it happened, because it made me feel more confident of who I am now as a person, and that I am a better person as myself than he will ever be. And I really am glad for that, because I went to my nephew's baptism with my spouse. We went to a Catholic church. I was told he wasn't going to be there because he never goes. We used to joke that he was like Gatsby, like no one ever saw him. He would never go to parties, no nothing. Yeah. He would just stay at home, be by himself. And so we're there. All of a sudden, I get a phone call on our way over there saying, "Hey, Dad's going to be at the baptism." And I'm like, "Okay." And they're like, "Don't do anything to provoke him." And I'm like, "Don't do anything." And I was like, okay. And they're like, I just wanted her to know. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I got there. They try to hide me from him, me and my spouse. And my spouse, being the beautiful person that they are, was like, no, we're going to make him see that we're here. Yeah. And so we did. And we were there. We went up to the aisle, to family picture, everything. Yes. And at the end of the ceremony, we're getting out. I was nervous as hell. I was just like you. I was just like, I don't know how to deal with this. I did not prep for this mentally. And I was just like breathing. And then, luckily my spouse like just held my hand and was like, you got this. That's fine. You got it. And he was right in front of me. He recognized my spouse, but he didn't recognize me. He kept looking at me like, I feel like I know you from somewhere. And because he hadn't seen me since I left, and that was pre-transition, like completely. Has never heard me on the phone, never seen me, nothing. Like my mom just doesn't show him anything of mine at all.
Whoa.
So I go up to him and something came over me, a bravery. I don't know what happened, but like with my deepest voice, I said, "Hey, Dad." And he just looked at me with this shocking face of like, holy shit. And he's like, and he just like looked at his hand and then tried to come in for a hug. And I was like, no. And I get out my hand and I was like, no, good to see you, Dad. And I just shook his hand. And my sisters are there just looking like, what the fuck just happened? Because no one has ever done that to my father. Where it's like, no, you're not going to hug me because you don't deserve my love. You don't deserve my hugs. So we're going to be civil about this. I'm going to treat you as a sperm donor, shake your hand, respect you as a part of this family, but it doesn't mean I'm going to give you the respect that you want.
No, because a hug is intimacy and connection. We're putting our hearts together, and it says, I feel safe with you.
Yep.
And if I don't feel safe with you, I don't give you a hug.
So it's like, no, here you go. Here's my hand.
Wow.
That's how we're going to do this.
Very gentleman of you, Johnny Gentleman.
I literally had like an anxiety attack afterwards in the car. I was like, holy shit. And and it's trauma. It's a lot of trauma because once I got into the car, I was like, babe, I don't want anything to happen to my mom and my sister because of what I did.
And they're still living with him.
They're still living with him. They still, he's helping to raise my beautiful nephew, and it scares me all the time. It seems like he has dementia, and they try to guilt trip me to go see him, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, no. And
I want to rename guilt trip as boundary violation.
Right?
Yes. So prevalent in Latino households, and it's a thing that drives me crazy, and it doesn't work because that's not consent. Guilt tripping is not consent.
No.
And it's not holding the person accountable for what they did and why somebody doesn't want to be with them.
Yeah.
And if he gets very, very sick and it's the final goodbye, it's up to your discretion whether you say goodbye to somebody like that. But I am really a proponent of, unfortunately, people have to pay for their consequences.
Yeah.
Not unfortunately. Fortunately, people have to pay for their consequences. And if they have not changed their behavior and become a safe space for you, you do not owe them anything.
Exactly.
You owe to yourself and to your family to protect yourself and keep yourself sane and safe. That's your job in the world.
Yeah, and that goes for people in the community, that goes for friends, that goes for anybody that is triggers you into any kind of way. I know you are very lucky where you've had, not you haven't had any negative experiences in the drag community. I unfortunately where I, especially in the Empire, there's not a lot of drag kings. I would have queens, grope me, like touch my ass, grab my vagina. There has been like a sexy boy, like kind of like dirty talk to me. And it was just like, I did not give consent to this. And that's why I left. I lived in the Empire, but I was performing in LA because I was like, I don't feel safe here. And, through drag, I've been told by producers that I'm unsellable because I'm a king. That I've been told.
Who's saying that? Wrong, incorrect.
Yeah. And it's just like, or opportunities where it's just like, oh, you're not up to par anymore, so we're going to just let you go. And it's, I've had that happen. I've had literally a famous drag queen send me a dick pic without consent. Like, there's such a dark side to the drag community. It's very small, but there's still a dark side to it where misogyny is still there. It's still present. The male ideology is still instilled in this. Even though we are drag kings, male impersonators, we are still treated as a fab or female people. And that's a problem because this is a community that is supposed to be about safety. It's about consent. And it pisses me off when there's people out there, people in the king community that are still not respecting boundaries. There's people that are not respecting traumas. There's producers that are demanding of you needed to be like this, but instead of being like, this is the category, I want you to express yourself the way you want to, because you're not going to get a good product out of a performer if you're telling them what to do.
Exactly.
Because drag is performance art. It is an expression of our experiences. It is a storytelling experience to where we are expressing a kind of emotion, whether it's laughing, whether it's comedy. It is parodying gender norms politically. It is our escape and our expression of how we're feeling at this moment in time. And if you demand to us or tell us that we're not up to par, or telling us that we need to perform this kind of music, this kind of this kind of that, then you're not respecting the drag artistry, or you're actually not respecting the person and their art that they make, because the art comes from a dark place. We're taking darkness and we're making it into light every fucking number we do. And we need that respect. We need that, we need to stop being treated as, like, it may be extreme to say, but like slaves. Do as I want. And we need to be respected as human beings with trauma, with mental health issues that need. These are the places where we want to feel safe. We want to be heard. And if you're providing that space, we expect you to have that mentality.
Exactly.
And so I just personally wanted to express that, because I think us talking about, the traumas that we're going through, our backgrounds, our traumas, our mental health issues that we have to deal with on a daily basis. These are conversations that are not being expressed in the drag community or in public in general, in the queer community. And we don't talk about it as much, which is a really big disaster, because we need to understand that pride and queerness is a right that was fought through people who suffered, and through people who stood up for what they deserved, and establishing boundaries and expectations for how they want to be treated as human beings.
Confetti, explosions. Bare minimum, this is for self-expression. So, like, you do the drag you want to do. Everybody. That's what I love about drag. That everybody's coming out from a different way, and you can tell people that are copying, and it's like lame. But like, I also think that's their journey. Certainly in the comedy world, I wanted to be like everybody else. I wanted to be smart like that. They always have those quick one-liners, so good with their character work. And then I was like, why don't we just find out what we're good at? What's our best asset? And then, keep building on that. Stop trying to be everybody else. I had in my acting class with Mike Nichols, the famous director, Mike Nichols of The Birdcage. It was anything. Said, the face you have is the face you have. Deal with it. The way that you come across in a room, that's you. Own it, accept it, have your own back. And then you can have that character's back. But until you start, and this isn't to say, like, don't alter yourself. Obviously, we're doing drag, or, we can change our genders. But this is to say, like, if it is not, the art's not coming from inside the house, it will always feel fake and forced. That's the point. The art is coming from my heart. End of story. And maybe from somebody else, it's coming from another place. Okay, fine. but my art comes from my heart and what I want to say and express and emote. And it will be
Yep.
very different from everybody else because they're doing a different thing. And I think that's what's cool and unique, you
Yeah.
know?
It's
Like,
great.
that's the whole point, I think, in my head. I have had a few situations where men have come up and touched me as Ramon and been
Yeah.
like, oh no, why? I'm so turned on. And I have to say, don't touch the merch. Or like,
No.
don't touch me. Recently, I've had a few interesting conversations, which I still haven't really unpacked yet, but where the person was like, you're trans and you don't know it. I said, I'm happy being Ruby, I'm happy being Ramon, and I intend to live my life as both those people. That's my joy. And I'm
Uh,
not taking a label that is for people that feel that way. That's crazy that you're saying that to me. I'm doing drag. And Ramon happens to be my higher consciousness. So it's another, what you call, it's another me.
yeah.
Okay?
Also, like, no one has a right to tell another person who's trans and who's not. Like, I have friends that are trans, but they're not going through procedures.
Yeah.
Like, they're dressing how they want to. They say these are my pronouns, but they don't have to go through the surgeries. They don't have to do that. I'm not telling them how to be trans. No one deserves to be told how to be. That is
Oh, shoot,
just
I lost
not
you.
how
What you say?
this the force works. It's not how the force works.
But I think we're saying the same thing. Like, I was like, well, if that changes, you won't be the first to know. You
Yeah.
won't. But I'll let you know if that changes for me. And I just had a moment, and of course, okay, no shade, but some shade. It was from two white people, and I was like, well, well, well,
Yeah.
here we are again. White people trying to tell a Latino person who they are and who they aren't in the world. How interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not getting this kind of flack from other people or this
Mm-hmm.
kind of feedback. So, like, why don't you take your opinions and go have a buffet with them?
Yeah.
Available for your opinion buffet.
Yeah.
It was so, like, the audacity for them to feel comfortable saying that. I was like, I don't know where you get off. You just met me, but like, I'm going to write this off right now as an alcohol fueled moment for you. You
Yeah.
know,
But
thank
also,
you and no thank you.
like, that can also be damaging for a person with low confidence. Like, my sister struggles all the time as a cisgendered heterosexual woman. She lives in the Inland Empire that's very close minded and conservative. Like, they joke about her and they talk about her saying that she's a trans woman, and it makes her feel uncomfortable. And it's the same thing with people that do drag, or if people are dressed masculine because they
Mm-hmm.
want to. Like, you're trans, like, you
Mm-hmm.
just don't know it yet. How about I define my
Yeah,
trans
yeah,
if I am trans? Also, why do I have to publicize if I'm trans?
right,
That is my decision to do,
right.
not yours. You don't see me taking you out of the closet, honey. Like,
Yes,
what that you have no right to that, and that is diminishing somebody's self-worth.
yeah,
So you are not giving a compliment. What you're doing is that you're putting down somebody's self-worth,
right.
and if that person's not confident in themselves, that can really damage them mentally
Yeah.
and give them a lack of confidence that could trigger some very big insecurities. So shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth. I let you know. My self actualization is for me to be in the discovery of, and I let you know if something changes. Except I probably won't let you know because we're not going to be friends. Thank you so
No.
much.
Yeah, no.
Blessings,
Also,
blessings, blessings. But that's rude.
no. That's so rude. That's
Yeah.
oh, I hate it. I
And so I
hate it.
left the party because I was like, I thought I was at like a cool, fun, queer, open-minded party, and I am. And also, I don't like that that's happening right now. Because I was
Exactly.
also, oh, how dare you? Of course. Oh, okay. Got it. Got it.
Mm,
We're still in the let's tell women who they are and how they should be.
yeah.
And I was like, bored,
No.
bored.
No, thank you.
I
No.
wanted to answer your last question before we hop
Yes,
off
yes, 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 yes.
about tips. Okay.
You the question I was gonna ask you. Because we have to close it out. We have been talking for almost 2 hours, which is
Also,
amazing.
yes,
I
we
love
can talk
this.
forever.
Forever. And it's
Yeah.
why I love you.
I love you.
But just to close out this amazing episode, what is some advice that you would give to people struggling with mental health issues, especially in the queer drag community. What are what's some advice you would like to give to people struggling with mental health?
I have so much to say, so I'll do it as fast as I can. Okay, one, like, if you're a nature person, always go into nature, just for a walk, just to a clear head. If you listen to 3 to 7 minutes of birds chirping, studies show that it down regulates your nervous system and brings you back. And I'm a big proponent of, like, you don't have to sit and meditate. I walk and meditate. Okay, I go to the ocean and look at the waves and I meditate. It doesn't have to be the way everybody does it. Please, if you get anything out of this conversation, do you, boo? Do you? And for some people, that might look like getting medication or therapy, which is very expensive and hard. From last May until January, February this year, I couldn't afford therapy. And I
Oof.
did suffer a lot. And so now I have an affordable therapist. Look for therapists also that are in Canada, okay, who are more affordable and will do telehealth with you. Yeah, hot tip. I highly recommend people that are doing internal family systems work or compassionate inquiry. So people that are trained by like Peter Levine or Gabor Mate or Bessel van der Kolk, who have that trauma-informed lens. I've had very positive experiences working with their practitioners, and some of it is somatic based. And you'll find out, do I like somatic therapy? Body based therapy, where we're practicing coming back to the body and feeling safe in the body. Do I like internal family systems therapy? I love EMDR, can't afford it right now, but EMDR, we are doing the bilateral stimulation and tapping for working out trauma. And I'm a big proponent now of sound healing. I do a little bit real quick for you all to just give a taste. Like, just get
Yes.
yourself one of these, okay? They're like $15, $20 on Amazon, and you can just play around with a steel tone drum.
Ooh.
Okay? Like a little
Ah,
that, or get yourself a chime.
love that.
Koshi chimes are my favorite. Just start doing things, because especially sound and music can really help a nervous system that's feeling hijacked in a moment. Another tip, very quick, the VOO exercise, VOO. You can look this up on YouTube. Peter Levine does demonstrations. It's an old tribal chant that they did in the West Indies. I believe in the West Indies and West Africa. Please don't quote me on that. But it's an older form of it activates in your body your parasympathetic system.
Ooh.
And so this is all it is. Inhale and you exhale. When you keep doing that a couple times, because it just starts sending a message to your nervous system like, we are safe, we're comfortable, we're okay. I highly recommend microdosing mushrooms. Not macros for other journeys, which I also recommend, but
Yes.
microdosing, journaling, finding a community or a few safe spaces to talk to, because I find when I can communicate and co-regulate with other people, I start to feel safe in the world. Like, and doing that exercise of like, let me find 5 things that are red in the room, okay, to start grounding me. Let me see what I can smell right now. What can I touch right now? Finding for me, I have squishy toys that I squish in the car, little fuzzy animals to help me when I'm stressed out in traffic. And these are all just small little things that are free. Doing the power pose where your arms are in the air in a moment where you don't feel confident. Doing this for 1 minute lowers your cortisol levels, increases your feel good serotonin levels. Put on a song and dance to it. Put on a song, start singing and crying to it. Showering, bathing, putting dirt on your feet or sand on your feet. Getting something to wrap yourself up in so you feel held. You know, these are all different, small, free, affordable tools to help you down regulate. Because when we get hijacked by our emotions, listen, I said this week, as Ruby, I said, things have not gotten better in 6 months. I'm starting to feel like they never will,
Yeah.
you know? And my friend said, you just need one little bright light, one glimmer to start helping you feel like all the choices you're doing are okay. Regarding apartment hasn't happened. Regarding the lawsuit hasn't happened yet. My favorite band will be coming to the Los Angeles area for Halloween. And that was
Ooh.
literally all I needed to hear on the radio to be like, yes! Yes, I have something to live for.
I
Just
love
to be like,
that.
okay. because I couldn't afford to see them. Really wanted to, couldn't afford it. I was heartbroken, and like friends were going, they were seeing them in like Bend, Oregon, and Seattle, and I just couldn't swing it. And they're like my church. LCD Sound System is my church, and I was like, I can't. Okay.
Oof.
Johnny, we have.
Oh my God.
They're a residency in LA, and I've seen them as Ramón, and I've seen them as Ruby. I've seen them 27 times. When I say I'm a super fan, I mean a super fan.
I love that so hard. There's such
so
a good
when
band.
I heard that, I was like,
sense.
there it is. There's that glimmer. I'm no longer feeling embarrassed. Sometimes I find living in this time, space, and dimension with all this violence and genocide very challenging to want to stick with.
Yep.
And I just, many times I'm like, I just want to like off myself and become a mushroom. I'll be with the trees and just like slowly die with the trees and let an animal feast on me and like call it a day. And then Ramón will be like, I don't know, that's a little extreme. I think we're just really hurting.
We're just really hurting right now. Yes.
And so find a glimmer or like surround yourself around people that will pour into you. Go to sound baths, go to yoga class, and what's affordable, and there are affordable options. Hit me up on Instagram at Ramón Loves You, and I can point you in that direction.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with you. That's the main point. Capitalistic, violent, war, agenda, culture is what's wrong. And you are in response to violence and oppression. And that's many times what feels so yucky inside.
Yep. My God. Yes. That's literally amazing advice. Definitely agree with all of that. Just to add on to that, during the pandemic, I also was trying to find therapy, but my therapy, like my insurance just didn't have really a therapist that specialized in, LGBTQ stuff or Latino, like understanding Latino or BIPOC cultures, because that's also a thing for folks that like that. It sometimes if it is for you, sometimes it helps when you have therapists that understand the struggles of being queer or a person of color. My first therapist, oh my gosh, shout out to her. I loved her. She was an amazing Black woman. And I got so sad when I lost her as a therapist because I had to move to LA. But we did a lot of aromatherapy together. A lot of like crystals, and like I always had crystals and salt with me in my car. So if I had an anxiety attack, I would call her and she would help me meditate. Like I would always have like lavender, because she's like, find an oil that helps you feel safe. Lavender, I love lavender. Lavender soothes me. And so, whenever I had too much, I would like put it in my hands, rub it together, and then I would inhale and count really slow, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then release 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I would do that for about a minute or two. And, and then my second therapist was actually through an organization. And there's a lot of organizations out there too for folks that can't afford therapy or mental health issue services. There are organizations that provide free therapy for people. There are a lot of them that also focus on BIPOC and queer folks. So please search for that, because there's organizations out there. I was fortunate enough to have an organization, Queer Circle, I believe it was, and it was based in like Palmdale, which is like so random, but it was based in Palmdale, and it was telehealth, and all the therapists were people of color and gay. And so my therapist was a first generation Guatemalteco, which I'm also half Guatemalan, so he understood the issue. And, he was very, very beautiful, very amazing. I'm so sad I lost him. But even afterwards, he was like, if you need help finding another therapist, I can refer you to my friend who is exactly like me and stuff like that. There's websites like, I think it's called latinetherapy.com that it's specifically for people that are looking for Latino or BIPOC therapists that understand the BIPOC or Latinidad community and help you with that. And they have the insurances that they take on there. There's also some that are sliding scale. So for all of you guys that want to get back on therapy and can't afford it, there's organizations like that. There's websites like that. I know there's a website, I think it is latinetherapy.com, that provides a service of giving at least 5 free therapy sessions a month and stuff like that. So please check that out. Research it, Google it. There's many organizations that provide free healthcare, mental health care for people of color and queers. Also, LGBT Center. It will take forever, but they have it.
I lost you for a second. Center.
Oh yeah, the LGBT Center also has the services of mental health issues.
Yes.
It will take a little bit long, but they have them. Also, there are fun little groups. There's some things that we call social groups that it's pretty much just like a group that meets up once a month, I think, or every other week. And if you identify as trans, there's Trans Lounge. There's bisexual group support groups. There's also like same-sex AFAB social group, like a sapphic support group situation. And now we also have ADHD groups at the LGBT Center. So please investigate that.
Info.
Yeah, I just found out about it because I worked there.
Oh, goodness. Okay, I want to give a shout out to my ADD coach, Bonnie Minku. Okay, yes. NCU. And livewithadd.com is their website. And for $37 a month, you meet several times in a month and you learn new skill sets, for being neurodivergent. Anything from like how to be on time, how to pack for your trip, how to arrange all the tasks you have to do for like she has really saved me in that realm. So Bonnie Minku, I want to emphasize what you said about finding someone that is, your group for a therapist, if that's important to you. I definitely need a BIPOC person. I definitely need a person that is some version of first generation or is also an immigrant. So we can talk about like those specific experiences that happen. And I need a queer therapist. So I have found really helpful work when we're speaking the same language, And I'm such a big fan of aromatherapy. I'm so glad you said that. Crystals all over my car. I also want to bring up tarot. Okay, tarot is very helpful for me. Diana Seva, her handle is Imagine Why on Instagram. Teaches very affordable courses on how to work with tarot and incorporate it into your life. So you can have your own insight. The last thing I say, Science and Non-Duality Network. It's where I take a lot of trauma-informed classes. The work with Bessel van der Kolk and Gabor Mate and Peter Levine, they're always teaching. Cannabis enhancement, cannabis-enhanced yoga. That's something Ramón will be doing soon. Stretching your fascia. And the last thing I will say, hydrate. Yes. When in doubt, hydrate, nap, put your legs up against the wall. Or like get into an inversion of some sort. Like just position your body a little bit differently, hydrate, so new perspective can come in. And when you need to rest, rest. No apologies. No apologies.
Yep. And also to add on to that, that you were talking about ADD, please, I recently did this, and it is very calming for me. Do not be afraid to get evaluated.
Yes.
Do not be afraid of it. It is not wrong to do it as much as your culture or your people tell you it is. It is not bad. I have been suffering most of my life. I think I have dyslexia and ADHD. I recently started the process to get evaluated. I'm waiting to get connected with a professional, but I am doing that process for myself and for the health of my family, because it's important to know that when you take care of yourself, you're also taking care of the people that you love. So please don't be afraid to evaluate yourself. There's free organizations. If you have insurance with UCLA, the actual university, has a center for free evaluations if you want to get evaluated.
Oh.
So please check into that. Yeah, just don't ever be afraid of being your mental health. Yeah. Take care of yourself. Your mental health reflects who you are, and it will keep you going as much as possible. Take care of yourself.
And we're not supposed to be fixed. Okay, we're not supposed to be happy all the time.
No.
Or sad all the time, or numbed out all the time. We're emotions. Energy comes in and energy comes out, just like the waves. We don't yell at the waves for being big one day and small the next. We don't look at one tree and say, hey, this tree better than the other tree. Enough with the comparison. That won't help you. There's people to admire, ways people are doing. It's like, I want to be like that too. Okay? Yeah. I obviously really appreciate the kindness and compassion meditations of Buddhism. Like, really here for that. Can't happen all the time because I'm a human being. And sometimes you have to let people know, back off.
Yep.
Back off. Boundaries are sexy. And we could do a whole, next time we talk, let's do a whole chapter on ADHD, because I've had a whole amazing journey on it. And I really want to empower people. Your ADHD brain not only probably protected you from trauma. That was a huge learning for me this year with Gabor Mate, that when the violence would happen or the yelling in Spanish, I would just boop, disassociate, go to another place. And that's how my brain could cope in that house. Yeah. And the pluses are huge imagination. I'm never lacking for ideas, okay? Yep. And a lot of people struggle for ideas. So embrace your neurodivergence. At the end of the day, once you learn tools, like I'm learning with Bonnie Minku, and I'll send you their handle. And their program is called productivitypathfinder.com. Once you start getting the tools, and she says it to me all the time, you start really being able to handle things better, and being able to, like, I'm displaced right now. My jobs are up and down all over the air. My heart be broken. Baby, I'm still writing my show for Fringe. Okay? Yes. My Fringe show's happening. So quick plug, if you want to come to my show, it's a live pilot taping of a late night comedy show where I'm going to be teaching people how to process their feelings and be kind to themselves and others. Okay? Different from any late night show you've ever seen. Because a lot of times, you watch the news or late night and they tell you like horrible things or scary things, and then they're like, bye! See you later! Deal with those feelings on your own. So in my show, we're not doing that. I'm going to help you learn how to process it. And we're going to have a lot of cool people coming on to as the guest, teaching us about renters' rights, what to do if your landlord is violating your rights as a renter. What's going to be on the ballot this year, very important for housing. And Alyssa Aparicio, who is also Puerto Rican and Panamanian like Ramón, will be coming on, performing one of their songs. So I'm using it as a platform to, why there are no drag kings in late night? We're the late night. Why only white guys late night comedy? And to have a social activist bent in the show, so you can feel empowered when you go to the polls, when you're dealing with your landlord, when you're like, I need to salsa dance my anger out right now. So we'll be giving tools and tips. The show's called Revolution with Ramón. It'll be the Zephyr Theater. The live tapings are June 22nd and June 29th. Follow me on Instagram at Ramón Loves You, and you'll see all the information. And if you need tickets for $10, the discount code is 10 is the word for the discount code. 10. And if you need more of a discount, hit me up. I do too fun.
Oh, I love it.
Okay?
You froze for a second. I was like, what happened?
There's been times throughout that you froze. I was like, I think I know what they were saying.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much, Ramón, for being a part of this episode.
An honor.
Thank you for chatting. Thank you for chatting. Thank you for being your beautiful self. And thank you for plugging. Read my mind, and it's really ridiculous. I wanted you to plug your Fringe show anyways. But please go check out Ramón and his amazing pop-up Fringe show, Hollywood Fringe Festival, coming up this June month, and Revolution de Ramón is a part of that. Please go see, get the tickets, promo code 10, the actual word. So please go and support Ramón. Go support Ramón on Instagram of the above, and also just book this king. It's Pride Month, and all year long, book kings and book Ramón. Why are you not doing it? Why are you missing? Why are you not putting the sabor and sazon in your show? That's the real question. Why?
Let's leave them with that dimension. With a heart
Thank
blink
you
of
so
the
much,
eye,
Ramon.
right?
I love you.
Blink.
I hope you have a great day.
You too. This is wonderful.
You are a sunshine in much.
Johnny, thank you for being you. You're the first king that's asked me to do a show. The first king that's like made me feel included in a group. So I'm so grateful to you and really respect and honor what you do. You always make me feel good.
Thank you. You always make me feel good. You always make my day with your performances, and I just
Likewise.
love it. I'm obsessed.
Likewise.
But we can talk about each other and love each other all day long. But we have lives. But thank you so much for being a part of this once again. And for all of our folks listening or watching, please, just as a reminder, if you're really not booking kings, are you really doing drag? So we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye. Love you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Behind the Kingdom with Johnny Gentleman. Please do me a favor and follow us on Instagram at DapperPussENT. That's right, DapperPussENT on Instagram. If you have a topic, have a comment, or anything in between, please do me a favor and email us at dapperpuss@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram. If you want to follow all of our amazing guests, please do me a favor and go and look at the links on our bio. Look at our website